How is you? Why y'all act so religious and stiff? And hello, I like to have fun. Okay, quick review. Don't make me call you by name. You can give one, or I'm gonna call you by name. Everybody's face like. Anybody knows who's the first name on my list? Well, I'm glad she brought someone to church. Maybe he'll get saved today. This is a come to Jesus moment. Okay. Quick review, 5 ways we protect our patterns or our ways of doing stuff. 5 ways we protect. Justify. Rename. Oh, you can't do them all. I know you know them all. She got 2. Justify, rename. Spiritualize is one. It's underneath it. There you go. Minimize. What else? Yeah. Look at, she knows them all. Okay. She said, leave me alone. Okay, the next one. The next review, when we started going over in the very beginning, the response path. When you're, okay. But there was a four part called response path. It's 4. Recognize. You recognize you're being triggered, or you recognize it. Then you pause. Yeah, everybody knows the pause. Just recognize, pause, surrender, and then you choose. So you have to surrender to either God or the flesh. One of them's going to win out right there. There you go. You got it. That's it. So we got a good subject. We're going to go as far as we can go today, okay? As far as we can go, and then we'll pick up where we need to pick up next go around. But in church, if you have attended church or you read Christian books, there's certain things. I'm going to tell you some things like in class when they say, you want to remember this? I'm going to point out some things today that you'll want to jot down because these are key components to what we're going into. Can everybody see that? Or is that? We're going into the environment you live in. We talked about, remember the 5 environments we talked about, which was digital and all of these things. These are external environments. Today we're going internal. These are internal environments. Everyone in this room has an internal environment, an internal climate, internal operating. And that's what we're going to look at. But one of the things that I learned to do that and you'll learn this and maybe after we finish environment, because I am going to teach a little bit on preaching and what most goes on in most churches and most preaching. It is really reactionary. It's a lot of topics. And a lot of topics you don't grow. You'll get a little bit of something, but you don't know the rest of it. So if you've been around offense, unforgiveness, and bitterness, what you are taught, or what you probably have been taught most of your life, is you just got to forgive. That's fruit. Forgiveness is key, but there's something that's, I don't want to say just as important as forgiveness, but it's next to it, and that is you've got to learn what happened. It's not forgive, because if you don't know what happened, then you miss the whole concept. And today, I hope to get to the place where you learn the difference between hurt and bitterness. I wish I could tell you, I wish I could stand before you and tell you 100%, or sit before you and tell you 100% that I have no bitterness. I am processing right now things that could be hurt that's not bitterness, or things that could be bitterness you call hurt. Because bitterness is not hurt, and hurt is not bitterness. There's two different things, and if you don't understand that, you can allow bitterness to remain, and it's hurtful. It's really just hurt, and you're beating yourself up, or it could be hurt, and you're naming it something it shouldn't be named. So, anyone know what this plant is? It's a tree. Man, you're observant. If you were to, little flower right there, if you were to smell that flower, it is super, super fragrant. Anybody know what this is? Okay. I promise you it's not a magnolia. I'm just going to set it right there. So this is going to prove, oh, Jason, what is that? Okay, we look at this and we don't know what it is. And that's cool. This is the point I want to point out. See, we're very good. If I was to show you the fruit, you would name it. See, we want to call something by the fruit, and we don't recognize what it actually is. And therefore, if you don't know what is actually producing it, you can name the fruit, but you'll keep producing it because you don't know what's producing it. This is a citrus tree. This is an orange tree. Okay? And if I would have showed you an orange, oh, that's an orange. It's very easy to identify the fruit. But my teaching, my ministry is not to identify the fruit. River could identify the fruit. Don't get a big head. I imagine Ellery could identify a fruit, couldn't she? How old is she? Almost 2. So if a 2-year-old can identify the fruit, and you're 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, and you can identify it, don't be too impressed. But where that fruit comes from, you can determine what's producing this fruit, and then you can go straight down and trace it to the root. I am a root person, because if you don't deal with roots, you keep producing and you keep repeating and you keep cycling the same concepts. And you need someone to pray for you, and they tell you forgive. But what has produced this? And if you just forgive that situation, then when you get into another situation, it produces again, and you got to keep forgiving. But you can stop the forgiving when you understand what's causing that. You don't have to ask for forgiveness 100 times, because you stop it before it gets there. Are you following me on that? So what pain becomes is an atmosphere. Everyone in this room, you have a story, you have a situation, you have family. There are people that are friends that have hurt me. There are family members that hurt me. There are family members. Y'all see my shirt? Quit looking for me. I have to tell you, in ministry, I have offended a lot of people. I've hurt a lot of people. I intentionally, not that I ever intentionally, but I really work real hard to pay attention that I don't offend people. If what I say offends people, I can't help the truth offending, but how I say it, my tone, my actions, sarcasm, all those things play into the impact of that. But religion is the most hurtful thing. And in Tuesday night formation, I have something that was said, but I haven't heard a lot of people say, but something was said about a situation, and someone said that they were trying to get prayer, and they were told the reason you're not getting healed is unforgiveness. I just, that so angers me. That religion has the audacity to tell people why they're not getting healed and why they're not getting deliverance or why they're not getting breakthrough is because there's something in your life. That could be true, but that is not a reason, because that is not a reason why you're not healed or why you're not getting breakthrough. I would say a lot has to do with structures and environments more than classifying. But religious people do that when they don't have the power to do something, they want to rename it. They want to reclassify it. Now catch this. So when pain occurs, we'll call pain an event. When that occurs in your life, this is something you want to, this is what creates an environment. Several things happen. Pain, needs to go in the trash. Pain shapes, which means forms. It shapes. These are four things it will shape. It will shape your perception. Yes, pain, an event, will shape perception. How you perceive things, how you see things. Pain will shape your reactions. Let's just use this as a common, this is just a common thing. We know, I'm just going to put this up here because this is a good analogy. We won't go any further. We know that PMS shapes perception. We know it shapes reactions. We know it shapes relationships. We know it shapes identity at that particular time. You know, we say, I'm just not a good person. I'm just not fun to be around. What does that mean? Your perception, your reactions, your relationship, and your identity has been shaped by pain or discomfort. Okay? A lot of other things. But this is just to give something that we can all relate to, right? You ever heard people say, when someone is ill, they'll say, are you close? Or somewhere. I mean, they're trying to figure out why this is coming out, and they're trying to connect it to something. Y'all with me? These four things are created by pain. Okay? Your reactions, your relationships, and your identity. So this is not in any way a message to point a finger, to condemn, or any of that. I would call this a surgical love message. To look at some things of what's going on, and this is not that anyone's bad. You're not bad. Don't say you're bad. This is about how an atmosphere has been formed inside of us. Okay? We're going to run through some scriptures here because we're going to nail a bunch of scriptures real quick. Hebrews 12:15 is going to be our first one. Hebrews 12:15. You have that one? Someone want to read Hebrews 12:15?
See to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile
See to it. That means that's just personal. You must see to it, make sure that no one misses the revelation of God's grace, and make sure no one's lived with a root of bitterness. I think there's a slide that's got Hebrews 12:15 on it. Is that it right there? Okay. So we talked a little bit about this. What does roots do? Roots create. First thing they do, roots are go create something. You will not have a root and it not create. What's the second thing a root does? It feeds. You can't have this. This started with a seed. This started with an event. This started with a planting. And then it became a shrub, a tree. And the more you feed it, the more it grows, and then it spreads. So when you have this, everything good? When you have this root system, what God is saying here in Hebrews, you got to know, this thing is going to spread, you go feed it, and it's going to touch many people. You could, if you go to these big oak trees, or if you ever dug up a tree, I mean, you can have a plant, but the roots can go 50 to 100 feet out from that tree. And there's thousands of little feeder roots. I mean, it's not just a trunk. This is a system, and God is saying, make sure that a root doesn't exist. Now, let's look at, you can put Luke 17:1 up. This is crazy. One day, Jesus taught his disciples this, betrayals. I mean, Jesus said this, and we act like we can't believe it. He said, betrayals are inevitable, but the devastation will come to the one that betrays you. What translation is that? Passion, can you do amplified? Jesus said to his disciples, temptations. Did you have a question? Luke 17:1. Jesus said to his disciples, I'm saying to you, not Jesus, but as us as disciples, temptations, snares, traps set to entice to sin are what? They're not unusual. This is an everyday thing that is trying to occur, but woe to him through whom they come. You're going to get offended. If you do not know this, Kevin, we're building a friendship, right? You're going to get offended by me. If you hadn't already. Have you been? I have to ask because he wouldn't voluntarily tell me. You're going to get offended. We want to go to a church where we don't get offended. That's not going to happen. You're going to get offended. Read my shirt. You came to a place to get offended. You're going to have to be challenged to grow, because where you are and where I am challenges you and say you have to process what you believe, who you are, your attitude, the way you respond, all your patterns, and they get challenged, okay? Ephesians 4:31 and 32. Notice what Paul said. Ephesians 4:31 and 32. What translation is this? Well, you put amplified just because I'm looking for something. Let what? All bitterness and indignation and wrath, passion, rage, bad temper, and resentment, anger, animosity, and quarreling, brawling, clamor, contention, and slander, evil speaking, abusive, blasphemous language, be banished from you. Why is he telling you to banish it? Go back to my slide, Hebrews 12:15. Why does he say get rid of it? Because it's going to spread. It is a root. He called it a root. It is not going to just stay in your life between you and it. You're going to feed it. It's going to create something in you, and it's going to spread. And it's going to touch other people. It will touch your children, your spouse, your workplace. It is going to affect. Put that one back up, please, that verse. It is going. He says, get rid of it. It will, or baseness of any kind. Ill will. This is our goal as a Christian. And this is why going to church, and we get in churches, and the first place people want to do is get involved in ministry. Well, we're not perfect. None of us are. But we need enough time to know if you have a bitter environment. Not a talent. Hello, talk to me. Ain't nobody want to talk. I don't hear nothing from no one. Proverbs 4:23. All these scriptures are going to come together for us right here, right now. Keep guard your heart with all vigilance, and above all, guard, for out of it flows the well springs of life. Well, what is this guard? Guarding against bitterness, guarding against these areas, because it's going to create a root system. This makes it clear what we're guarding. This is one area we need to guard. 2 Corinthians 10:5. We can demolish every deceptive fantasy that opposes God and break through every arrogant attitude that is raised up in defiance of the true knowledge of God. We capture like prisoners of war every thought and insist that it obey. Every offense, every bitterness, you will have to. This is what we're taking captive here. And the last one, Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, do you see how all these 5 scriptures work on Hebrews 12:15? Now go back to that slide again. Let's look at it again. Notice, roots create a small hurt, a difficult moment, a hidden agreement. Feed it. It's watered by rehearsed thoughts, justified feelings, repeated choices. That's how it's fed. And then it spreads because the atmosphere, the relationships, and it creates an entire environment. Everyone in this room, you have probably some bitterness or something that's in the process. I will tell you a funny story. Not that Jason's here, but he just happened to walk into it this morning. So Jason on Tuesday night was telling me about his swimming pool. So he was putting chlorine and cleaning it and all that. He had a high level of concentration of chlorine. And in here it was a high level, and in it, that's the part of the story. Kevin came in. Don't leave yet, Kevin. I want you to hear this. Don't sneak out in the middle of this. So Kevin came in, and Kevin was right there, and I said, Kevin, walk over to Jason and shake his hand and say, you smell like chlorine. No, I ain't saying that. No. He walked over, shook his hand. He never said anything. He read the bait, okay? And he didn't, he could have done that, but Jason, on something as simple as that, could have gotten offended. It was meant bantering. It was meant joking. We don't realize, and we're going to get into this to understand this, that I could say something to Lisa and she'd laugh about it, and I could say it to Carissa and she said, was he kidding or was he serious? And it plays on her mind all day. Why is it that I could call on Lacey to ask a question 3 times a service, but I could call on another person and they would be like, don't call on me. I don't like it when you call on me. Some people would not come to church because I don't want him to call on me. Why is this? Why is it? Okay, listen to me. Listen to this. These are so good. These are points. We're going after this. What is being said is all technically true. Say it again, what was said. Someone could have experienced an embarrassment before, put on the spot. That is not the root. It's their personality. That's not the root. See, we've got to go to the root of why this happens. Why can I say something to Richard and he laughs about it, and I say something to Daniel and he feels bad about it? There's a reason why, and that's what we've talked about this, and it's in Scripture that we develop an unoffendable heart. What does that mean to develop an undefendable heart? How do you develop it? Develop an undefendable heart. Praying more doesn't do it. Reading the Bible more doesn't do it. Going to church more doesn't do it. Getting deliverance doesn't do it. How do you actually do it? Do y'all see the type of teaching I'm doing here? I don't want you to go after fruit, because as soon as you pick it, it grows right back. This is going deeper, because have you ever had a cut or a wound? And a lot of times, like I hit myself here on the hand the other day working, and it was bleeding. What I do, I wash stuff real quick, and when I get home, and I put triple antibiotic ointment on, and I put a Band-Aid on it before I go to bed. When I wake up the next day, honestly, I'm not lying to you, usually it's healed. I mean, everything's back. It's not perfectly healed. But you ever had a wound or a cut or something, and it just never heals? It just stays. It's in a weird place, and it's always something's rubbing it, and it never heals. See, some things heal cleanly, but some things become climates. Hello? I'm going to touch it. This is a touchy issue, but it's a good point. Larry Bullard had a wound from his shoe where his foot rubbed the top of his foot, and because he had uropathy and he couldn't feel it, it rubbed it. Well, it got infected, and over a year and a half, they had to amputate his foot. That was a wound that did not heal. Hello, y'all with me? That was a wound that did not heal. So how about this? Let's look at some things, because everyone in this room is different, but let's look at some things. How about a humiliating moment? Someone can say something about your looks, or about your weight, or about your dress, or about something you said, and you ever put your foot in your mouth and you laugh, but it can be a humiliating point. That may not be humiliating between Casey and Daniel and I, but you add Greg to it, and we banter a lot, and you add Greg to it, and Greg may not take that same joke the same way and get offended. Okay? How about betrayal by a spouse? How about being abandoned by a parent? How about a divorce? How about rejection? How about chronic neglect? Public shame? How about the loss of a child? These are wounds that don't necessarily heal very easily or quick. Okay? Being cheated on repeatedly. How about this? A church wound. We all had them, right? Now, this is what I wrote down that was a big thing. The event may lasted for a moment, but it lingers for years. It can last 1 minute, and it will linger for 10, 20, and 30 years. In fact, you can still recall the church and the pastor 30 years ago about what happened. That is not a clean wound. Now, listen, this is good. We're going here. Why does some wounds cut different or strike different? Why does that happen? It can be. It's good, but we're going deeper. I want us to go deeper. When a wound does damage to us, usually the first place it strikes is your sense of self-worth and identity. I'm less than. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I didn't know the answer. You feel it's personal. It wasn't meant personal, but your identity feels threatened. Another one is your safety. Your safety feels threatened or violated. How about this one? Your belonging. There's another one. That's another one. Worth. Your worth is in jeopardy here. And then we'll add your trust or your love. This is when an event happens, when hurt happens, when something happens, it usually attacks one of these areas, and that's where it lingers the longest. Y'all got that? Everything, just for clarity, all the answers that we're giving, they're right, but they're still above the surface. I'm down in the root level here. I'm down underneath the ground. You have to learn to identify stuff. And here's the answer to the question that I asked earlier. Structure, what did I write? Determines that's an N. That's a VL. That's an N. Someone explain that.
How the building has been built and to what tolerances will determine how vulnerable it is to
Right.
wind or earthquakes or to
Yeah, Jesus said when you build your house on the rock, for when storms come, for when offenses come, hello, when they come, those who build on sand will collapse. The reason, this is good, this is just ABC stuff that I know you want your breakthroughs here. This is better than a breakthrough. You can prevent from ever being in the situation again. See, your structure, who I am, who God says I am, who I belong to, my identity in Christ, everything that I am in God, my structure, my rock, my identity, my beliefs are so solid that vulnerability is limited because I become armored. It says the devil will shoot a fiery dart. Well, if I stand here and someone shoots an arrow at me, guess what's going to happen? It's going to penetrate. But if I have armor on, it will deflect it or it will not go all the way through. So your identity, your structure, that was layer one, right? Your structure, having a strong structure will determine how vulnerable you are, how weak you are, how much drama will happen in your life, how easily. We cannot have an unoffendable heart and not have structure. We just pray, Lord, give me an unoffendable heart. He cannot give us an unoffendable heart. That's like saying, Father, I pray for $1 million and you don't have a banking account. Someone says, here, I'm going to give you $1 million. Give me your banking account number. Well, I don't have a banking account. Well, I'm not giving you $1 million. You can't get what you have not structured yourself to handle. I know David, he's an NFL guy. Has anyone ever had someone that played a college football quarterback throw a football and you caught it? Let me just tell you something. I have. And if you ever have a collegiate football player to throw a football at you, you think it is a .50 caliber bullet. It's not you and I they're throwing and it wobbles. I mean, these guys are 6'4", 6'5". Whew! It'll take your arm off. Anybody ever played with anybody that's good, even in high school? They are absolutely bullets coming at you, and they will knock you. They will take your breath if you get hit with one. I won't even catch one. Yeah, that's like a line drive. I am not catching it. You know my story of looking cute. I don't catch or mess with these things. And when you have these attacks coming in your life, you have to be armored up. And it's your structure, it's your identity, because you're going to get offended. We say we want an unoffendable heart, but we have limits on that. We have limits. That's just over the top. Jesus, do you know when Jesus was baptized, the Father come out and looked and said, when he got baptized, and Jesus hadn't done a miracle, hadn't done one single thing, nothing at all, nothing. Everybody say nothing. He hasn't done anything at all. And the Father come out and said, "You're my beloved Son whom I am well pleased in." He hasn't done anything. He's a rookie. Jesus was a rookie. He hadn't even tried out. He hadn't had a temptation. Nothing. This guy was a rookie. He was an armchair Jesus. Does that bother you? Well, tell me what he did if you disagree. What did he do? He hadn't done one thing. He didn't need any bragging rights. Jesus said, "He's my beloved." As soon as he said, "This is my beloved Son whom I please," he went and got tested. His Father first told him, "I love you and I believe in you," before he ever got tested. When you know who you are and you know, "You got me, Dad, I got you. Let's go." Why was that the first thing that was said? Because he needed to know, my son needed to know, "I got you and I'm here for you. You can do this." And he went straight for the temptation then. And he said he looked at the cross and he considered it a reward because the Father had him. When you get this identity, and when I get this identity built, and I don't have this identity, I am working really hard on it. I am working on it. No devil, no demon, no witch, no nothing can bother you. You're untouchable. When you know who you belong to. When you know who's in charge of you. So we have structure. Remember, structure determines vulnerability. When you are feeling uneasy and hurt, that should be an indicator or one of those little red lights on the dashboard that comes on, check engine, maintenance required. When you're feeling vulnerable in something, then you need to know my structure's weak here. I need to go work on my structure. I need to pull some scriptures up to work on my structure. Making sense? You can take that down. We're not quite, well, you can leave it there. We're not ready for that, but we're good, okay? We're going to do one other thing. So event, what's the event? The event is the pain, and you have plus structure. When your event plus structure, that is going to determine equals the impact. This is so schoolish, isn't it, Rachel? There's a blue whiteboard. When you have an event, whatever that is, that event is going to happen on top of your structure. And when it happens on top of your structure, that's going to determine the impact it's going to have. Is it going to go straight to the heart, or is it go scratch the skin, or is it go bounce off? That is what the impact's going to be. Make sense, Carissa? Take stuff personally. And you take stuff personally, and what is that? Let's go back to the list. It strikes at what? Identity. It's an identity. So yeah, you take it personal because you're attacking my identity. That's why names and racial words and all that. We just wiggle riot. Why? You took it personal. Yeah, even if you didn't do anything wrong, the identity, the structure's not in place. Is this not good? This is going to mature us. Okay. Asterisk, asterisk. You want to pay attention to this. You and I are not wounded by the event. You and I are not wounded by the event, by the encounter, by the statement, by whatever happened. That is not what wounds us, but we think it does. What wounds us is what the event meant to you. That's why it could mean one thing to one and not the other. It's more important to one than the other. Does that make sense? Let's go a little bit deeper. You want to go a little deeper on this? The pain is not only in what happened. The pain is what the event convinced you about yourself. It's a great example of what she just said. She said she takes it personal. So that event told her what? Who she was. You're insecure. You're not valuable. You're not pretty. You're not this. You're not that. You're not smart enough. You're not as good as other women. You're not this. You're not that. Whatever it is, that event told her, she interpreted it, and that event told her what it meant to her. Anybody want to use another example? You don't have to. I'm not going to call anybody. Is there something where something has been said about you or to you? No details. I don't want no details or anything. Can anybody want to share something that someone said to you about you that you took personal that hurt? How they act. No. See, I'll give you one for me. Y'all know me, right? You know, and I know time-wise I can't get into my story. I was very, 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 very insecure. Very insecure. I mean, no one in this room was as insecure as I was. I mean, Lacey, let me help you out. If I was in church and someone told me to read a scripture, from here up would turn red. I wanted to do it, but I was so insecure. I would be red and stumble around, but I wanted to do it, but I was insecure. When I got free from insecurity, when I got delivered from insecurity, when I started growing in, the reason why now that I'm offensive to so many is because I'm the opposite of insecurity, and I know what a prison, insecurity and passivity puts me in. Because I was screaming inside, but I couldn't, nobody heard me because I was so insecure. I was telling Brian this morning, I know I'm admit to you, I can't dance. But be thankful. Because if I could dance, I would be in the dance floor all the time. Y'all be like, I'd be dancing, preaching. I'd be like, what's he doing? I love dance. I love music. The reason I couldn't do the moonwalk, my shoe grabbed. Should have worn my slippery shoes. Yeah. No, man, I'll go sock-footed and show you. But I was so insecure. Now I want people to be free from insecurity. I want you to be free. It's a different world. It's a different life. It is so different. Now I have to put boundaries because it can be overwhelming. I'm not overwhelming, but I just constantly push and calm down, chill out. I don't want chill out. I just want to go. But I've lived my life, and I want people to be free from that area. And it could be other areas you want people to be free in. And your freedom, it says, do not let your freedom cause others to stumble. I can let my freedom cause other people to stumble. But one of the things that I take personal, anybody want to guess? I know there's a list. Let me reframe that question. Here is one thing so you'll know, but it's not like it's a personal thing every day, but here's something I take personal. It's a personal thing, and here's why I take it personal. To me, it's dishonoring. It's me. This is how I take it. Now, you have an area, you don't take it that way, and you don't pay attention. We all have areas, and we'll say, well, that don't even make sense why that bothers you. You know what I mean? That's so petty. That's so insecure. That is so, but we all have them. But here's an area that's a pet peeve that bothers me for people not to speak to me. That's a big deal. You see me, you walk by me, you're around me, and you never open your mouth and say, hello, how are you? What's going on? That's an area I haven't overcome. Because it's so easy to point a finger and say, good to see you. You don't have to hug me. But you do see me, right? You do see me. You do hear me. You know I'm in the room, right? And to not ever say a word, to me, I take it as dishonoring. It's not dishonoring. That's how I have perceived and interpreted that event. Y'all, does that make sense? Because I know what it is to go into a room and nobody speak to you. It makes you feel bad. I want people to feel good. I pick on Jason and different ones, and Kevin. I like building relationships and having fun. I pick on Brian the most. I have to be careful with Greg because he's so quiet. I don't know if he's going to karate chop me or what, because he's just so stoic. He's like Mount Rushmore. But we all have them. You have to identify these areas because they will keep hurting you. They will keep harming you. Okay. Y'all got that? Event. Notice my symbolism. Not equal to environment. The event is not the environment. The event is not environment. The event is what happens externally. The environment is internally. It's not the same thing. You create the environment. Okay? Say this. Environments reproduce outcomes. Environments reproduce outcomes. Good. Okay. So, we know we have root, trunk, leaves, fruit, right? Would you say that's a progression? Or you could say dirt, seed, root, trunk, branches, leaves, fruit, whatever progression you want, okay? So if there is bitterness, this environment in your life, what is the progression? How do you get to bitterness? Are you asking me or are you telling me? Okay. Now, don't get offended by the way that exchange occurred. I want you to state what you think. We're going to go over it. I'm saying, how do we get to this place? Okay. Okay. Yeah. And this is what I want and encourage you to all write down. You have already a progression of how all this stuff works in your life. We're going to have to compress all this down to what a biblical way or what God says of how we handle this. Here's the worst thing, the worst thing you can do is I have an issue and I go and tell Jason about my issue of what just happened, and Jason says, man, I don't blame you. You did good. I'd have punched him. You did good. I would have cussed him out. You did good. See, that's what I'm telling you. We go to people. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what I learned. People go to other people. They don't come to me. Because we go to people that is going, we know whether we said it, we know whether that person is the environment they have, whether they're going to feed my environment. We won't go to someone that's going to tell us the truth. What could you have done? What do you mean? It wasn't me. They said it was. Pause. People have a tendency to go to people that will not challenge them. I never challenge them. I'm going to get to the root of, you need to come to discovery. I want people to challenge. I don't want people to agree. It always feels good when people agree with me, but I don't want you to agree. I don't want this to occur. I want to overcome this. So, how do we get to a place of bitterness? There is a progression. One, see it on the board. We'll start right here. I keep popping this down. One, you cannot get to bitterness without first an offense. Oh, you didn't speak to me. An offense. Oh, you didn't give me a housewarming gift. Everybody gave me a housewarming gift. You didn't. Oh, you shook everybody's hand, but you didn't shake mine. Oh, everybody came to your house for the Super Bowl. Why didn't I come? Oh. See, the offense, whatever it is, the offense is how pain enters. Remember, it's all pain. Everything starts with pain. The offense, help me, Jason. Jason knows this word right here. The offense is the breach. Is there a definition for breach you have? When they knock on the door, Wilmington PD, open up. Breach. Boom. Offense is the breach. Y'all with me? Bam, we're in. Who did that? Was that Ellery? Well, that's her amen. She's telling y'all something. She liked that. Okay? Luke 17:1. What does Luke 17:1 say? Watch out. Breaches will come. Watch out. Offenses will come. Watch out. You know what the Greek word for offense is? The Greek word breach. Y'all get this? This is so good. The Greek word for offense. What's on the picture? Bait. It's the Greek word. Watch out, the bait is there for you. Watch out, the trap. Y'all can look this up in the Greek. I'm not going to teach you Greek too. Y'all go to, what is it called? Bible Hub, go under lexicon or whatever, and you can pull up and you can find the Greek word. Yeah, any of those. Okay? So you have the offense. Jesus said bait will come. Jesus said a trap will come. Jesus said a trigger will come. Jesus said a snare will come. Y'all with me? So offense and breach is bait. When you take that piece of jalapeno bread, see, she brings that in to bait you. When you take that piece of bread, you took the bait. The goal of the enemy is to plant inside of you. And when the breach is, as soon as you take that bread, what happens? Click! It locks you in and it's got you. It's the subtleties of the enemy. It's the trickery of the enemy. And guess what? Deliverance can't fix that. The event is painful, but the trap is what the pain plants inside of you. It puts the pain inside of you. So how about this? Offense is the wound created when an event impacts the heart deeply enough to alter your emotions, your trust, and your perception. That is so painful. Let me ask you a question. Someone don't speak to me. I'm not talking about just general. You know what I'm talking about. People look at you, see you, and don't speak to you. Why is that so painful to me? Who said that? See, Lacey, it's rejection. Listen to me. When you don't speak to someone, you are intentionally or unintentionally rejecting them. What was my biggest issue growing up? Rejection. Why do you reject people? It's not my personality. Now, you know I hadn't used a slang word in a long time, and I'm not going to use one today. But when we say, well, it's not my personality, well, I just didn't get around to it, those are just pure lies. Everybody look this way. Everybody look at this wall. Can anybody tell me where Bertha is sitting? Everybody knows where Bertha is sitting, whether you spoke to Bertha or not. You cannot not lay eyes on people. I'm just using me as a personal example. See, I grew up insecure. I grew up an only child. I grew up, rejection was my greatest thing. I want to say rejection is probably one of the greatest hurts out there. Betrayal falls into all of that. I know what it feels like to be rejected. That's the reason when I come into a room, I try to hug everybody, talk to everybody, and talk to me because I don't want you to feel rejection because I know the pain. And some people don't know the pain and don't care. Don't even think about it. It's not that they don't care. They don't even think about it. But their pain they hear. And you may not recognize their pain, and they feel the same way I feel. I'm just emotional. The bait looks small, the trap is set by circumstances, words, and action. Of all the places that should not occur, it should not be in the house of God. Does that make sense? We on track here? So when that thing goes deep enough, trust is violated. Expectations are shattered. Now, for y'all think I'm really sensitive. I'm not really sensitive on this. But here's something. We play volleyball. And if you let the younger kids, if you let Roman and Rania pick volleyball teams, guess who Rania's go pick? Brooklyn. All of us people here, and she go pick Brooklyn, and Roman's go pick Elisha. That's dishonoring. Why would you pick someone that can't even touch the bottom of the net? You can jump to touch the bottom of the net, yes. But you understand, it's little things. She gets that from Lisa. When love is withdrawn, when honor is broken, safety is disrupted, it really goes to the core, okay? It goes to the core. So, y'all with me? Is this helping, Heather? Amen. Yeah, we're not into no religious stuff, because I know what they tell you in church. You just got to forgive. You just got to forgive. Jesus forgave. He stood on the cross and he said, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. No, you just got to forgive. Look at somebody and say, forgive them, forgive them, forgive them. Okay? You should have this in your handout. How pain / how pain enters. I said we just go take it slow. I'm going to make sure Jason gets all of this. He going on vacation. Be thinking about this up in the yer. We say yer here. How does pain enter? Offense. We go into number 2 now. How the next stage, once it enters, guess what? We protect it. So when I got hurt here, right? This tore the skin. I didn't cry. Didn't run anybody. It tore the skin, right? What did I do when I got home? I say I usually do. I cleaned it, I put ointment on it, and I put a Band-Aid. What is that? That's protection. As soon as you get an offense, you go protect it. You start nurturing, you protect it, you cover it. So unforgiveness is protection. Oh. Unforgiveness is now how the protection is starting to form. Just see that right there? I won't let that happen again. And we call that wisdom. Once bitten, twice shy. Wisdom. Oh, we're going to learn about this. It's a protection system. Oh, I forgot. Oh. Well, the last one. Bitterness. How pain becomes an atmosphere. That is the progression. Offense is how it enters. Unforgiveness is how protection forms. And bitterness is how... And this is my one and only close. And then we'll finish this next week. I want to break this down for you. Whiteboard moment, some help. So we have offense. You can take that down, please, or go back to the other one. We have offense, unforgiveness. Y'all can read that, right? I say it and then y'all can guess it. Unforgiveness and bitterness. Okay? Let's look at it from different angles. Let's use 3 words and use that from different angles. Wounds, walls, atmosphere. What's another angle? Y'all with me? All these are the same. Y'all with me, right? Pain, wounds, offense. Y'all with me? What comes after? What would be pain? Pain, protection. How about this one? Poison. Don't let a bitter root poison. How about this one? Breach. Atmosphere. All these are the same. You have to be able to see this, and we could come with some more. You have to be able to see this from different angles. It may not, that's an offense. No, that's a wound. No, that's a hurt. No, that was pain. No, that was a breach into my identity, a breach into my safety, a breach into my trust. Some forgiveness. No, that's a wall. No, that's my protection system. No, that's an inner vow. What does it create? Bitterness, atmosphere, poison, or you could put climate. That is this process. And this is what determines how well this grows in that environment. Same reality, different lenses. Same reality, different perceptions. Yes. That's the fertilizer. Throw that one up with the 3 just so they can see that one. Even though we hadn't got to the other 2.
So the offense occurs, then you have the choice to forgive or unforgiveness, and then
Yep.
the root of unforgiveness.
Mutates into bitterness.
Yeah. And this can happen in seconds. I want to suggest on whatever level this exists in this room, it exists in our lives, it exists with divorce, everything. We're going to go through this. Next week we're going to hit 2. We're going to go into unforgiveness, and then we're going to go into bitterness, and we're going to really take this thing apart, okay? Because this, just praying for forgiveness, don't just forgive. You got to know what happened, what occurred, what is feeding it, why is it spreading, why is it the way it is? Because if not, it will return. You may get relief for a day, week, or an hour, but we won't relief totally removal. Any questions or anything? Yes. Can you learn from the pain? I think you can put boundaries up. You can put boundaries up. And we're going to look at that. Make sure you're here next week. Because forgiveness, let me say this. Forgiveness does not mean I have to have a relationship. Forgiveness does not mean I have to hang around you. Forgiveness does not mean I don't have boundaries. Forgiveness does not mean I have to invite you into my house. Those are non-truths to forgiveness. Forgiveness is about my internal climate not controlling my future. I don't ever have to have a relationship with you. I don't ever have to have dinner with you. You say, well, is that really unforgiveness or a forgiveness? Forgiveness isn't about a relationship. It's about the change of a climate. Now, we make him work to rebuild something, but if this has been a devastating impact and you've had an affair on me or something major, that doesn't mean I have to stay married to you. That doesn't mean I have to, you've beaten me and all these things that I have to live with you. God hates divorce. Come on, don't get into all this stuff. I'm not trying to get into divorce issues or that. I'm just saying people grab little scripture tidbits and they don't understand them. Okay, and we like to use them. So there is a process here of how do we become healed? How do we walk in freedom? And you can develop an unoffendable heart. But we can get to the place where our structure and our identity is so strong, we deflect more than we take on. If every church you've been to, you've been offended, that's a structure issue. That's a structure issue. Okay, it's understanding this. Any more questions? Good question. Did I answer your question? You do learn from that, but you got to be careful because you can use that pain and event to create inner vows, and you will end up. You'll put, I know what happened here, so I want to avoid here. That's called walls. Because we're trying to stay in safety, and therefore we're trying to stay in our protection zone. Yeah, and we'll walk through this very clearly and answer all questions. Yeah, absolutely. So, Father, we thank you for today. We thank you that there is forgiveness. We thank you there's wholeness. We thank you that we don't have to take the bait. We don't have to fertilize the offense. We don't have to let the wound become poisonous and infected, that we need amputation. We thank you that we could, by the word there is cleansing, by the blood there is washing, and by your Spirit there is wholeness. I thank you today that we can walk in freedom from the trickery, the subtleties of the enemy to enslave us. And I speak over everyone in this room that during this next week, that they would take this handout and look at events in their life, pain in their life, wounds in their life, poison in their life, and that within the next 7 days, that freedom is entering their lives, and a new atmosphere, new heart, new mind, new emotions, and they walk in the freedom of God. We love you. We thank you. You guys have a wonderful last 31st.